Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Today I Work On. And today, I'm working on joint compound. So joint compound is pretty labor intensive, more labor intensive than paint. It's an art. It's very hard to teach because it's about feel. And my only tip about joint compound is pressure. When you apply the joint compound on the wall, you need to use pressure. You need to wipe off as much joint compound as possible without taking off so much that you expose the tape. So it's a fine line. And then also, you have to learn about feathering. So if my hand is the wall and I'm pushing, it's close to the end of my finger, that's called a feather. So near the back of my hand, it's gonna leave more joint compound. So when you're feathering edges, you always wanna push harder on the edge and be lighter on the middle of the seam, so you have something called a feather, which leaves a very, very thin layer of joint compound. So it is thick in the middle and then it feathers out on each side. I see people, a lot of my clients over the years, they will leave a ton of extra joint compound on the wall, which they don't, and they're like, oh, why is it lumpy? Why is it bumpy? Why is it thick? It's because you have to use pressure. You have to really push on the joint compound and get as much off as possible. So I'm going to start joint compounding, and I will time lapse it, and then in the middle I will go over like how I do a flat seam, how I do a quarter, and how I fill nail holes, so you can get a little idea on how joint compound works. So enjoy the show, and I'll be back. Alright, so I'm going to show you real fast how I do screws with joint compound. Basically, I take about that much joint compound, which is not much, with a 6-inch knife. 6-inch knife is very balanced and it's very good for corners and screw holes or nail holes. And you lather a bunch of joint compound on, basically. And then you slowly, and you need to use firm pressure. Look, I'm pushing hard. You clean it off, that's it. You want to come down, that's fine too. Now let's lead to a flat seam. Flat seam is a similar situation. You put on a bunch of joint compound on the flat seam. You lather it up really good. You know, a good like eighth of an inch of joint compound on there. You clean your knife, and then you take the tape. I can't find my spool, but that's fine. It's okay. And you embed the tape like so. You embed it really well with your hand. Use your joint compound knife. You rip the tape off, and then I usually start on the right side since I'm a righty. But then you start feathering out the joint compound underneath the tape. So right side first, left side second, right? And then you just keep cleaning it out until it's nice and flat. That's it. Well done. That is the first coat of joint compound. And you see I'm still taking a little bit of joint compound out, but that's basically, it's pretty easy. You just have to use pressure. Now, I will show you on the second coat how I feather out this flat seam, and then on the third coat is my final coat, and you'll see how wide I come out. A lot of the pro guys will only come out maybe 10 to 12 inches. I come out like between like 16 and 20 because it just looks better. I'm using more joint compound, but it's fine. The wider the seam, the better, and the more the seam height. So that's a flat seam, and that's how you fill screw holes and nail holes with joint compound. first coat of joint compound in the corner. Same premise. I'm gonna hit this. Put that water in me. But same thing. You take your joint compound knife and you put the joint compound on as forward as possible on the joint compound knife, and then you feather. I'm using more pressure on the top, and then I just go down like so. Make sure you get a nice 1/8 of an inch worth of joint compound on the corner. To grab a little bit more. And then you come up. Alright, then your corner is filled up with joint compound. Now, usually I cut the pieces of corner beforehand because it's just easier to work with. You measure, take your knife. Cutting the tape with the knife is very easy. And then there's a crease on these pieces of tape, and you want the crease to be on the inside, obviously. So you crease the tape, and then you embed the tape like so. And there you go. And now it's the same. Now, the secret on a corner is you don't want to dig into the corner because then you rip the tape and then your corner's no good. So you want to, like I said, it has to be a feel and it takes some time, but with a little bit of practice, anybody could do it. You just slowly feather out like so, feather out like so, come back down. Come back down, and that's it. This corner is ready for a second coat. Now you can do a second coat immediately if you like. So you come down. So this is going to go on this back wall. So look where I put my joint compound. I put it on the right side of my knife. So once I come down, I'll be able to feather out nice and easy. And then I'm going to come up, but I'm going to switch it from the right side of the knife with joint compound to the left side. You have to make sure the inside of that corner gets filled up really nicely. And that's it. That is a second coat of joint compound in the corner, which means I only have one more pass here. So I hope you learned something on joint compound. Off to getting busy with this joint compound because I have quite a bit to do. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today. I work on the joint compound. More joint compound. It's a big space, even though there's no like walls, extra walls, and it's just like one big room. It's still super long. It's 20 by 34 wide, so it's almost 700 square feet of space. It's a lot of drywall for one person. Usually on a project I would sub this out. It's not feasible to do this type of work and make money on it because the drywall guys they're like snap, snap, snap. You know, they are banging out really quickly. So I'm not as fast with joint. I mean, I'm not slow, but I'm not super fast, and I'm not motivated. So there's that. I have 2 more days of joint compound. I have today and tomorrow basically, and then the following day I'm gonna sand and then start throwing up some primer. So that's the plan for the next couple of days. So it's just a lot of joint compound and a little bit about joint compound. There's a few different types of joint compound. Right now I'm just using the green lid bucket, which is the standard joint compound, regular weight. It's tried and true. Everybody uses it for the most part. Then you have a couple of other different buckets. You have like a purple bucket, which is like a mid-weight, and then a blue bucket, which is lightweight. But I don't like them. I don't like the feel. I don't know. I never liked them. Then you have the fast setting stuff, and the quickest setting stuff is called Plaster of Paris. You set it up in 5 minutes, it's rock solid. Your next step up is you have something called Easy Sand, and Easy Sand has tiers of minutes that it gets hard. It's 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 45 minutes, 90 minutes. Most people use the Easy Sand 20. I think that's what they have, the local Home Depot. It's good stuff. But if you don't use it correctly, it'll flake off the wall. So for some reason, I see it a lot. It happens, and then you got to redo everything. So if I have a big space like this, I'm not using quick setting stuff. Then you have something called Durabond. Now Durabond is kind of like Plaster of Paris. It dries up very hard. It's not an Easy Sand, and some people use it when they have to fill like a big gap in a wall because it hardens up like a rock. It's easier to work with compared to Plaster of Paris. So that's basically all your joint compound. For most applications, the standard green lid is the way to go, and that's what I'm going to use. And let me get to work. All the tape is now on all the seams and corners in the barn. Party time. That's great because the hardest part of joint compound is the first coat. It's bedding in the tape. Now, so say, I'll put it to time. So say it'll take me 6 hours to put a first coat of tape on everything. It'll take me 3 hours to put a second coat on top of the tape. And then as every coat goes on, it gets easier and faster to do. So now I'm going to put the second coat of joint compound on all the tape. So let me get to work. That was fast. I did second coat on all the walls, all the flat seams, all the nail holes. I'm a little bit short on joint compound, so I'm going to run to Home Depot, grab probably 2 more buckets of joint compound, and then when I get back, I'll also grab lunch because, you got to keep the tummy full. I will do the corners, and then I will do the flat seams on the ceiling. And before I leave, I'm actually going to turn on the 3 fans. Well, 2 fans. I don't know what the 3rd fan is. In the garage to get, garage or barn. I don't know what the hell I should call this. Should I call it a barn or a garage? It was a barn, and I'm turning it into a garage or storage something. I have no idea what to call this. I'm all over the place. But anyway, let me head out, and I'll be back in a bit. Back from lunch. Grab 2 more buckets of joint compound. Next up, I'm going to hit all the corners on one side of the wall because if you have a corner like this and you put joint compound in on one corner, you can't hit the other corner, so that has to completely dry. So that's the plan. I'm going to hit the corners, and then I'm also going to hit all the flat seams on the ceiling. So more joint compound. Let me get to work. just finished all the flat seams on the cross seams on the ceiling and all the corners. Now I'm gonna let it dry a little bit, and then I'm gonna hit the flat seams on the ceiling that I hit this morning. They still need to dry just a little bit before I can hit them. So I'm gonna turn the fan back on, and then while I'm gonna let like an hour go by, and while the fan's going, I'm gonna clean up the barn. So let me get to work. That was fast. Second coat on all the long flat seams are done. So that means everything in the barn slash garage slash storage unit slash workshop, whatever you want to call it, is done minus the inside corners. And in a previous video, I mentioned that the inside corners only get 2 coats. So you get the tape coat, so tape coat, bead, and then you get one finished side on one corner, and then you finish the other corner, which is 2 coats. 3 coats is like out of control. If you get the hang of it, you don't need more than 2 coats on the corners. The seams, the flat seams, you could get away with 2 coats, but I want to make it nice, so an extra 3-4 hours worth of work doing a 3rd coat on the flat seams will make it look really good. And I'm basically finishing this area like it's a home. So that's what I want to look at. I don't want to look at any junky looking, garages or whatever. I like clean, very clean. So it's going to be really clean. And then if you notice, I did something on purpose when I built the barn. I left some exposed beams on this back wall because they're 6x6s. That's the way the barn was built. I wanted to keep everything exactly how the barn was built. So I have 6x6s coming up, and then I have a triple 2x8 going across. So it's gonna look, I don't know what I'm gonna do with that. I don't know if I'm gonna stain it or paint it a different color. I might paint it like a different color like what I did outside. Maybe like a dark gray or something, just to make it pop, because I didn't want everything looking the same. So that's basically my plan. I'm really close to finishing this up, moving on to the next project. So I can't wait, and that's a wrap for today's video. Looks like I'm running out of time on this video for the drawing compound, so I'm going to continue it in the next video. If you like what you're seeing and you're learning about drawing compound and drywall and barns and garages, please like the videos. If you want to see more content, please subscribe. Thanks for watching again, and I will see you next time.